name's Katrina.
I'm Cheyenne.
And today we're going to go over the importance of nonverbal communication for nonverbal individuals. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and you could not speak? How would you communicate you were in pain, or that you needed food, or that you had an unmet need? This is the reality of millions of individuals in the U.S. today. Nonverbal communication is a way of life for them. Today we're going to be going over nonverbal communication and how it's essential for nonverbal people. Our three main points are going to be nonverbal communication gives nonverbal people a voice. It builds relationships and connections. And our third main point is it promotes independence and self-expression. And then we'll wrap up with some myths on why people consider nonverbal to not be communication. I'm going to hand it to Cheyenne for our first main point.
Thank you, Katrina. Okay, nonverbal people, communications give nonverbal people a voice. Just because someone doesn't talk or speak with words doesn't mean they can't communicate. Nonverbal ways of communication. We have ways like ASL or American Sign Language. We also have communication boards or devices like this one, AAC devices. These allow nonverbal individuals to express their needs, emotion, and opinions. Without these tools, nonverbal people wouldn't have to struggle in communicating the way they feel, if they're hungry, if they're sad, if they're happy. But with these communication devices or ways nonverbal communicate, we can share a meaningful communication ways. So many. This gives them a voice. It may not sound like ours, but it is their voice. So this device is called an AAC, and my daughter uses it. And we can look over here and she can say,
"I want water."
And I'd understand in that moment. She wants some water. And that may be something simple to many people, but to them, that's getting their needs met. That's being able to express without help from anyone else. And studies show that AAC tools let people make choices and direct their care, giving them real voices in their lives. This is credible because it's found by Alfruaya, probably botched the name, I'm so sorry, in 2024 found that PECS, or Picture Exchange Communication Systems training, enhanced requesting skills across multiple disabilities and showing its broader spectrums. It's credible because it's published in Frontiers in Psychology, a peer-reviewed open access scientific journal. The authors evaluated PEC's effectiveness across various disabilities, adding recent international research to our topic. And I'm going to hand it off to Katrina to our next point.
Thank you, Cheyenne. So our point number 2 is it builds relationships and fosters connection. So human beings are social creatures. A lot of us know this is pretty common knowledge, and relationships are dependent on communication. Not just talking, but understanding. When caregivers, teachers, friends, and family members learn how to interpret nonverbal cues, it's like eye contact or gestures or body language. It builds a stronger bond between the people we are working with or the people in our lives who are nonverbal and us, so that we can better help them. So one of my personal stories about this is I have a client I caregive for named Hayden, and he is a 19-year-old kid who has been nonverbal his whole life. Me being his caregiver, knowing how his eye contact and his facial movements and his body language are, like getting to know and interpret that for myself, it gives me the ability to provide him with the best care I can. If I was not able to understand what it meant when he gave me certain looks and walked over towards the kitchen, I wouldn't know that, oh, he's asking for a cheese stick right now. So these aspects of interpreting nonverbal communication is truly important. Like I said, as a caregiver, as a parent, I'm sure Cheyenne can relate, and as a teacher, a lot of people can understand there are always going to be special needs children or nonverbal people or children with differences that are going to be in schools, and we want our teachers to be educated on this. Now, as Carmichael and Marazi said in 2023, in nonverbal cues like facial expressions, eye contact, hand gestures, even often, they are often the clearest indicators of empathy and responsiveness. To summarize this, I think what they're saying is to give empathy to these people who are nonverbal is to listen to their nonverbal cues, to make them not feel lonely in communication. Carmichael and Marazi are a credible source. They are a peer-reviewed, respected journalists in psychology, and they actually do specifically scientifically sound reports to try and find this information and do studies on these things. I'm going to hand off to Cheyenne for our third main point.
Thank you, Katrina. Our third main point. It promotes independence and self-expression. Nonverbal communication allows nonverbal people to make choices, express their opinions, and take part in daily lives. With picture boards or electronic devices, a nonverbal person can pick their meal, answer questions, even tell jokes. And this creates a sense of control, a sense of freedom, and it builds confidence and lowers frustration so much. When we encourage nonverbal communication, we help live fuller lives and more independent lives. My daughter has been nonverbal for a long time. She uses her AAC device, and she has only been starting to talk in this past year. I think it's incredible getting to hear her voice, not just through this AAC device, but just her voice in general. But it wouldn't be without the AAC device and speech therapy and all this that my daughter has started to talk. Other than that, before that, it was gestures, pointing, screeches, sounds, and there was lots of frustration. But she's figured out using these devices, speaking, using her voice, echolalia. With these tools and expressions, it's given her independence. She's 7 years old. I'm an adult. I could not imagine not being able to express myself and the frustration I'd feel. So with these devices and tools, it definitely promotes independence. And this is credible because Flippin did a meta-analysis data in 2010 that confirms PEC significantly improves functional communication with children of autism, and it doesn't hinder their speech. They're credible because the meta-analysis data is a high-level scientific review combining data from multiple studies published in the American Journal of Speech Language Pathology, as well as a respected peer-reviewed journal in the field of communication sciences. Now, our opposing view. Nonverbal communication isn't as good as speaking. Some people believe that if a person cannot speak verbally, their communication is limited or incomplete. They may think speech is the only real form of communication. But this view ignores the richness of nonverbal expression. People who use signs, pictures, or devices can communicate just as clearly as, and sometimes even more effectively, than people who use spoken word. Consider how powerful a smile, an eye roll, or any one of those nonverbal expressions can be without talking. They're all nonverbal signals and they're all meaningful. Dismissing nonverbal communication is saying it's less than, only limits and our understanding of these. Not theirs. And with that, I'm going to introduce Katrina for our conclusion and call to action.
Thank you, Cheyenne. So, in the end, we've learned that communication isn't about the mouth or the voice. It's about empathy and connection, and it's tied with expression. Nonverbal communication gives nonverbal the ability to share who they are and what they need. We went over 3 really big points today. How nonverbal communication gives nonverbal people a voice, how it builds relationships and connections, and how it promotes independence and self-expression. Our call to action today is really simple. Use more than just your ears to hear people. Pay attention to their body language and their facial expressions and pick up on what they are trying to communicate. Let's make sure that we give value to these unspoken voices. And with that, we thank you.